To MMA fan guys, my name is Luke Payson. Welcome back to everyone who's already a subscriber to the channel. If you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe so you can see more great interviews, including the interview we've got coming at you right now, the 2020 Division II national champ from Fairmont State University, Luke, the Martian Martin, who is now 4-0, undefeated as an amateur MMA fighter. And I have to say a special thanks for him coming on. He fought last night, maybe 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock was his fight for LFA, and he is back on today. We're recording it just before 2 p.m. on Saturday. So thank you so much for coming on. Not even 24 hours removed. It was a unanimous 30-27 decision against a formerly undefeated guy who was 4-0. Also, your first time fighting for LFA, a big step up all around. So walk us through it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again, man. I appreciate it. But yeah, just to walk you through it, first round, felt it out striking a little bit. Got to a takedown, controlled the round, controlled the grappling exchanges, did some damage on the ground. Going in the second round, more of the same. Landed some good kicks up the middle. Landed some good jabs, did some good stuff on the feet, got the takedown, controlled it again. Third round, more of the same.
Well, you mentioned going into this fight, which I appreciate you came on just a couple days ago as a fight week interview. You had mentioned obviously the ground, the takedowns, the submission, the ground and pound. That's always going to be a part of your game. That's you're excelling there. But you had said that the striking and being well-rounded, which is an important thing we've seen from your buddy Luke, the sniper Siebert, well-roundedness, right? It's not enough to just have one good strength. What did it feel like from the photos that I saw? You were fighting southpaw, very relaxed, very long strikes from some of the pictures I saw. What did it feel like getting your timing and your distance along with the shots and kind of mixing it all together?
It felt good, man. This whole camp we have been doing a lot of open stance striking and with Will system and stuff, and it just felt natural. Like it felt like it did when I'm training. So I was really comfortable in that open stance. And I think maybe it threw him off a little bit because I don't think I've came out southpaw in any of my other fights. So yeah, I'm sure that kind of maybe threw him for a loop. But the whole time, I was just kind of reaching out and touched him with a jab. And it just looked like he was kind of trying to load up with that right hand. So I was very wary of that. But it was comfortable, and I'm getting better every fight. And I'm getting more comfortable every fight. So this was a really good stepping stone for me to fight somebody that thought that felt like they were gonna win, because I don't feel like in any of my other fights those guys have came out really expecting to win. And I think that he came out there with a lot of confidence, and yeah, just felt him out, got to my strikes, stayed disciplined, and carried on with the game plan.
Well, that does make a lot of sense. You've always been, and I think it's a good thing for you as a fighter. You're a very thoughtful fighter. Obviously, in the cage, you've got a lot of skills, but you're also think things through. And yes, it's a step up. We had mentioned that not only the step up to fight a undefeated guy 4-0, but also for LFA, has a lot, kind of has like a bigger feel. But like you said, from here on out, you're going to be fighting opponents that are obviously have a lot of skills, but also have the confidence that they're going to win. And that's no disrespect to the guys you had fought before. A lot of them were kind of taking steps up themselves against you. They were taking a step up in talent to fight you. And I think you fighting a confident opponent is great. I thought when I saw those pictures that was the first time using southpaw. And one, it's a great development of you, like you said, shows Coach Will Morrell's game plan and stuff. But it's also a reminder, particularly for amateurs, but really for any MMA fighters, even pros. You can't count on your opponent doing the same thing they've always done. And obviously, you're the example of that in the good way. But I have trained when I trained fighters, some of them were always open to kind of understanding that their opponents are going to do different things and that you have to develop your own. But I did have the occasional fighter that really just thought, I'm just going to train to that one individual fighter. It's not a good idea, particularly at the amateur level, where you should be developing your skills so much that if your opponent had watched tape and thought, well, he doesn't fight southpaw. Well, he hadn't fought southpaw yet, and so that's a big reminder all the way up. We've seen it even at the higher levels. You should always be developing your game plan, and that might mean you're doing something completely different. Once you go pro, whenever that is, you're going to be throwing knees for the first time. I know Lucas the Sniper Siebert knocked out his, well, it set up the knockout, but it really was sort of a knee knockout in his debut pro fight. Well, he had never thrown a knee to the chin of the opponent in his amateur because he couldn't. So you always have to be looking to develop. What's the mindset? You're 24 hours removed, your first time taking on, like you said, an opponent that came in with the confidence that he was going to beat you. You're now 4-0. You're obviously developing all your skills. What's the mindset? Is it looking for a turnaround fight? Is it kind of looking towards 2025? Is it, kind of figuring out when you want to keep developing? I know Coach Mike Wilkins very well, and I know he tends to, which worked for Lucas Sniper Siebert, he tends to really want to develop before you go pro. So kind of what's the mindset without making it the focus, because you did just get a big win and you always want to celebrate the win.
I think the mindset for me now is just talk to Mike and my manager Brandon and see what's up. I didn't really take any damage, so I'm good for a turnaround. But we'll see what's up. We'll see what's going on. I grew up wrestling like a million matches in a year, so it's not a huge deal for me to like stay training. Like I'll probably take like a couple days off or something, but then I'm gonna be right back in it. And right now, this is all about like developing for me. So if that means I turn around quick and fight and we have a good opportunity and I fight again quick, let's do it. But if Mike wants to wait a little while or for a better opportunity or see what's up, we can do that too. And I'll just keep training.
Yep.
And that's part of the reason that I really like where I'm at and like where I'm training, because I can look at Mike and Will and like some of my training partners and see what they think, because I really respect their opinions, and I do a good job of listening to them. So, like I've told Mike before, like, if he says jump, I'll say how high. Like he says run, I'll say how fast, so it's up to them. I'm just
Yep.
gonna keep doing it, keep developing.
Well, that's what I think is great about you personally. I think it does come from the wrestling background. That you follow a game plan. I've watched wrestlers practice, and as you know, wrestlers that aren't starting still do a lot of work, right? Like some people think, oh, it's just the wrestlers that are starting that are getting mat time. But if you're on a wrestling team, you got to follow the game plan, and sometimes that game plan is more development. Sometimes that game plan, like you mentioned in your career and a lot of people's career, it's compete, compete, compete. But the nice part is whether it's development or compete, it's all going towards the same goal. So I think it's just really nice that you see it as it's all in your journey as an athlete and as a fighter. For you, what was kind of maybe an unexpected, enjoyable? Like what was the most enjoyable part? Getting the win, whatever aspect. You went on the road. You were not the hometown guy. Like what was kind of maybe the highlight outside of the actual performance? Because there's always usually a nugget or two of maybe something that kind of was enjoyable for you.
I think one thing that was really cool was seeing some of the guys that are like in the UFC and are champions. Like Alex Pereira was at the fight; he was cornering somebody else.
Yeah.
Glover Teixeira, they were cornering the guy that fought right after me. So, and like just some of the other people that are around LFA, and just being a part of LFA, like it was super cool, and just to feel like like I'm a part of something like that's really big, and that they've funneled guys into the UFC and done these things, and just to be around like when I was warming up. So um Pereira, like their fighter, the guy that they were cornering, was also in the red corner. So we were all in the locker room together. And like Glover said some things to me, and like some of the other people said some stuff to me. Like after Will held pads for me when I was warming up, like some of them were like, "You look sharp, man. Good luck." Like just cool things like that that I think were really cool for me.
That is really cool. And as you said, that's a promotion to promotion, event to event. I remember some of the I remember meeting Corey Anderson. Back then he was called Beasting 25-8, if you remember that nickname. Maybe you don't, but he was a UFC guy at the time. No, sorry. It's about 10 years ago, but he was a UFC 205er, probably ranked top 5, top 6 in the UFC. And I was cornering a guy, and it was a similar situation. It just feels it's kind of unique behind the scenes things where it really becomes that's kind of how the development happens. And 247, which of course you didn't get the opportunity to fight for, you were going to, but that fight fell through. But they once had an amateur debut fighter where Glover Teixeira came to corner, and I remember thinking like, in that case, I remember thinking like, wow, this guy cares so much. He drives all the way from Connecticut to corner an amateur debuter. But it also just shows kind of the program he's developing, and really cool for you. I think Alex is the champ again, isn't he? He
Just
just
knocked out
re-won.
Jiri.
Yeah, I was gonna say he just re-won it because he's been the champ a couple times. So yeah, really, really cool. I mean, congratulations not only on the win, but also just kind of as you develop, there will be those kind of unique experiences that don't really show up in the cage. That's more behind the scene type stuff. So can't wait to have you on again. Enjoy the celebration. Enjoy whatever you've got going on in the summer. It's always great. You mentioned being so connected to uh, Stout PGH, and I think like that's the game plan is there. I can't wait to see where you and all the other fighters I've mentioned uh, Seabird a few times, but there's a lot of up and coming fighters out of Stout. I can't wait to continue to follow your career. So thanks so much for squeezing me in just under a day after your impressive unanimous decision at LFA 189. This has been Luke Payson from MMA Fancast with the champ, Luke the Martian Martin.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again, man. I really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Congratulations again. You take care.
Yeah, thank you. You too.